How do you go about saving heritage tomato seeds? Today we're going to have a look. Today it's a beautiful autumn day and I'm going to be spending some time harvesting and saving some tomato seeds from my tomatoes. And I thought I'd bring you along for the journey. We've managed to fix the door, but it's still being held shut by a chair. This is my very overgrown tunnel house, which has been quite neglected. Actually, my kids have done most of my tomato picking in the last week. So when it comes to choosing the best tomatoes to save, you want to choose ones that have come from the best sort of specimen plants that you've got, the ones that haven't succumbed to disease, the ones that have grown really well, and you want to choose fruit that are a good example of what you want it to look like. Obviously, you're going to be saving the seeds and therefore the genetics from those particular plants, and so you want to be improving the crop, not making it worse. We're going to look for nice big sized fruit that are the right colour, nice and ripe, and preferably ones that taste good as well. This plant here has done incredibly well for me. It's a little cherry tomato called Sweet Bite. Now I've had a good look online and I actually can't find out if this is a hybrid or if it's an heirloom one. One place actually suggested that it might be another name for what's known as Sweet 100, which is definitely a hybrid. But I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to save the seeds from these and we'll see what we end up with. Because if we can, it's a really yummy tomato and it's so prolific. And the other one I really like, I've actually already got some fruit from it. But what you want, these ones, oh, that one's got a wormy on it. I found this one on the floor. If they fall to the floor because they're ripe, they're like overripe, they're probably perfect for getting seeds from. So you want them to be as dark a colour as they go and nice and soft and squishy. Always save seeds from more than one fruit and from more than one plant preferably. So I've already done the ones I'm going to be keeping. So I'm going to show you how I went about it. The first thing you'll need to know if you're saving any kind of seed is actually what kind of plant it is, what type of variety it is. So this is when you're labelling, when you're very first sowing your seeds, is really, really important. There's three main different types of plants. There's heirloom, there's open pollinated, and there's hybrid. Heirloom varieties are your old traditional heritage types of plants, and 99.999% of them will always grow true to seed. So these are the ones that you really want to be using if you're trying to keep seed of your own. So this comes down to your first seed selection when you actually start choosing your plants to grow and which ones you choose to grow in your garden. Most of the plants I grow in my garden are heritage varieties. If they're not heritage varieties, they're the second option, which is open pollinated. Open pollinated plants are not considered heirloom or heritage, usually because the particular variety hasn't been around long enough. There's a varying description what makes something heirloom or heritage, and so open pollinated are ones that can pollinate with all different types but will still grow true to seed. So a few of the tomato plants that I have are open pollinated, but they're not considered heirloom or heritage. Now hybrid plants are when they cross two types together, and it's that first, usually F1 first generation. Sometimes you'll get F2, which is like the second generation. So the problem with hybrid seeds is they're not always fertile and they're not going to probably grow true to type. And that's because they have inherited two different sets of genes from their parents and they've put them together. The seed from them won't necessarily, it'll show some characteristics from the one parent and some characteristics from the other parent. However, sometimes it's worth a try. Sometimes you'll find that they just won't grow at all, and sometimes you'll find that they grow really well, they're really nice, but they're not exactly the same as the one you grew them from. So it's up to you whether you want to give it a try or not, but if you are serious about seed saving, the plants you want to be growing are heritage/heirloom varieties or open pollinated ones. If you're going to want to keep your own tomato seeds, this is what you're going to need. You need some water, a sharp knife, a teaspoon, a sieve, some fruit obviously, and a container that you're able to leave the seed jelly in to ferment for a few days. And then you're going to need a paper envelope and a marker so that you can write down exactly what you've got. Saving tomato seeds is really, really easy. What you want to do is simply cut the tomato, preferably with a knife you didn't just cut grass with, and then you want a little container and a spoon, and all you want to do is squeeze those so that the seeds and all that jelly come out, and plop it into your container. And you'll want to do that with preferably seeds from at least 2 or 3 plants. 4 or 5 or 10 is even better. You can eat these or do whatever you want with them. And once you've got your seeds and the jelly all in there, you just get some water and cover them with water. You want to set them aside just in your living area or a kitchen or whatever for a couple of days until they start to ferment. Now these are the same seeds I did about 3 or 4 days ago. You can see they've gone all murky. They actually grew like a white coating over the top. That's known as calm yeast, and it's completely fine. That's fine. So then what you'll want to do is get yourself a sieve in here so I don't make a mess, and tip your gross murky water in there, and you'll see that fermenting them gets all that jelly off. So then you just run them under some water and you've got lovely clean seeds. These seeds need to sit somewhere to dry. I usually spread them out on a piece of parchment paper or something in the sun just to get them nice and dry. And then you'll want to store them in a paper envelope. You don't want to store them in plastic because if they sweat they'll go mouldy. Now not all tomatoes have nice big seeds like those. If a lot of these sort of more paste tomatoes have tiny little seeds hiding in them and very little jelly, so these are a lot more of a challenge to get seeds out of. You kind of have to sit there and go through with a teaspoon and squeeze out as many as you can. Oh yeah, there you go, you can see that's the size of the red tomatoes that I showed you, and then these seeds here are significantly smaller, to the point where I don't actually sieve these through a sieve, I sieve these through a piece of muslin cloth. Some tricks for young players: make sure that you are really careful and fastidious about rinsing out your sieve between different varieties, or you'll find that one little seed will get stuck in there and later down the track you'll think you've grown a certain type of plant and lo and behold it's a completely different one. Make sure you label your varieties really clearly and keep them all separately so that they don't get mixed up as well. It's quite helpful to write on your envelope the dates to maturity, how long it takes from when you sow them to when they are ready to harvest, and what the fruit actually should look like, just in case you happen to mislabel them. I've had that exact problem. I got some free yellow different types of tomatoes from someone that was doing a study, and unfortunately my labels they kind of got wiped clean somehow over the course of the season, and now I grow this really big yellow tomato that I have no idea what it's called. But you know, such is life, eh? If you want to check your tomato seeds are actually germinating, then the easiest way to do that is to sprinkle a couple of them on some damp paper towel and just keep them somewhere warm and sunny until you start seeing a little sprout come out. They just sort of send out this tiny little hook of a sprout, and then you know that your seeds are good, and that's all you need. And you can decide then to either plant them into some soil and grow yourself some tomatoes, or you can just discard those seeds knowing that the seeds you have kept are actually going to germinate. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. See you in the next one.